Hello, everybody, and welcome to the AZ Sports Box podcast. I'm Caleb Bouchy, being joined here by
Henry Steiner
and Parker Gray.
And we are broadcasting live from the ASU Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communications here in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. Of course, we'll be talking about all the news going on in Arizona sports as well as sports going on in the country and around the world. And we'll start here with the Arizona Coyotes. This past Sunday, the Arizona Coyotes played their last game of the season against the Winnipeg Jets and lost by 2 goals with the final score 4-2. The Coyotes recently were eliminated from the upcoming NHL Stanley Cup playoffs after losing their spot to the Colorado Avalanche, who have the 8th seed. And the playoffs will be starting on Wednesday. And guys, what are your thoughts on this? It was a close push for the playoffs, but they ended up coming up short.
As a person who wasn't following hockey too close to the beginning of the season, the Coyotes really surprised me. Like, I did not suspect them to do, they were in the bottom of the barrel last year. They got, the 5th overall pick. And this year they came out of nowhere. And, yeah, I know it was pretty weak overall, wild card contention. But they started winning games from nowhere. People didn't expect them. So, overall, I'd say that this season was almost a positive for them.
This team is growing after all. I mean, they're going in the right direction. What are your thoughts about it, Parker?
Yeah, so I've never been a really big hockey fan, but just this season I've been able to see so much about the team and how they've been scratching and clawing back into the wild card. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get there. They tried really hard in the last couple games. They were fighting really hard. They got so close, and it was really fun to watch. But next year is going to be a huge step for them to see if they can keep moving in this direction and use this momentum into the next season. And now with them getting the 14th pick in the NHL draft, that's a huge boost. Hopefully that can help them out next season.
The 14th pick, that could be a huge boost. But yeah, the Coyotes finished this past season with a 39-35 record and finished 4th place in the Pacific Division and 9th placed overall in the Western Conference, barely missing the playoffs. Next season, though, will be pretty huge. I believe it will be the last year they are playing in the Pacific Division before they move on to the Central Division. Is that correct?
Last year in the Pacific?
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah, because the Seattle team's coming, that's why. So Seattle's going to take her spot, or the Coyotes' spot, as the Coyotes will move to the Central Division when Seattle is officially will begin play. Moving on, though, to baseball, and we'll talk about the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs later in the show.
And the draft lottery.
And the draft lottery, of course. But moving on to baseball, the Arizona Diamondbacks had an impressive start in their first home series against the defending champions Boston Red Sox, won the series 2-1. But what was that second game? They had a huge blowout against Boston. What are your guys' thoughts about that?
Well, the first game was also a blowout. The first game was both of the first 2 games they started off down a bit. I think they were down 4-0, and then they came storming back. And against Price too. David Price is a good pitcher. And they did both games, and then they lost the third game 1-0, so it was a pitcher battle. But in the first 2 games, they scored at least, 8 runs each? And if you look at the Red Sox haven't allowed 8 runs in, I don't know how long.
Well, it's not only that, but, I thought this offseason has been pretty harsh with the Diamondbacks. They lost a lot of good players. They're, kind of restructuring the team. I thought this is going to be, a transition year. We're going to probably suck this year. But no, this is actually a really good start. What are your thoughts about this part?
Yeah, everybody thought they would start really slow, and that was expected. Given they lost Goldschmidt, they lost Pollock, they lost lots of players, and they didn't really get much back for any of them. And the fact that they started
Corbin,
yeah. The fact that they started 5-4 at this point, and they've had some pretty good competition so far. The Red Sox have been surprisingly bad off the start. I believe they're 2-7 at this point. It's been a crazy start of the season. No one really expected it to go this way. But yeah, I think if the D-backs can keep pushing this through for the rest of the season, obviously for the next couple of weeks, that would be great. It could be an interesting season to see where they end up.
It'd be very surprising because also this is a very weak year for their division. The Dodgers seem to be rebuilding. The Rockies seem to be rebuilding. The Padres with Manny Machado have everyone being dark horse pick, but it's a very slow year for the division. So the Diamondbacks could capitalize on it, though I do think that they fall back to earth.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's only It's only been like 2 series they've gotten behind so far this season. So I mean, it's really early to tell to see just the direction of this. Not only the Diamondbacks, but their division of where they're going.
And just above 500 is not really anything to be excited about. But with this team, it's definitely nothing that anyone expected at this point.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and we'll talk more about the D-backs postseason hopes later on in our rapid fire segment. Moving on, though, I mean, this is kind of old news, but we'll still be talking about this. The Alliance of American Football ended up folding up, not completely folding up, but suspending operations was the term. What was it? Just before week 8, right, of their season? Like, they did it during the season, which is really odd.
And they're 8 weeks in.
Yeah, 8 weeks in. And the XFL has kind of like had this problem in the 2001 season. At least they finished their season. The AAF didn't even get to the playoffs. And it just shows was this rushed too early? Like, what was the problem?
Look, this one, they initially were very bad with how they did it and how they got the money. But once Tom Dundon came in, Tom Dundon pledged $250 million.
And this is the owner for the Hurricanes?
Yeah. The partial owner in Topgolf. And he was, so basically what he did is he was doing it week by week, like a week by week trial. And this is where I think it fully goes on Tom Dundon. He wanted a power play to get the NFL's young talent. And if not, basically, it's what I want to say is he basically just is giving up on $70 million. Let's say he gets back 30 or whatever. But this man pledged $250. How are you going to give up after you haven't seen how the playoffs go? Because who knows, the playoffs could be really big. And unfortunately, the week 8, how it was scheduled, there were going to be 0 playoff implications in the matchups that were for that week. So it was like, in a way, the perfect time, but not even like fast forward and create a playoffs. If you don't see how the championship goes, how are you going to quit before seeing how it can actually come about?
Yeah, I mean, I can see your point on that, but like, it's not only that, just like, I mean, ratings is also a big point. The ratings weren't doing really well.
No, the ratings were doing very well. The ratings were beating other major sports such as basketball, the NBA.
Really?
Yes, the ratings were there. They weren't NFL ratings, but you know what? They were beating baseball ratings. They were beating
for
basketball
a national TV audience, though. Like,
yes,
it wasn't
for
just
a
national.
National TV audience.
All
They
right.
were there. They were up there at ESPN 2 status. Let's say.
Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts about this? Because you went to the first Hot Shots
Yeah, I
game,
went
right?
to the first game. It was a bad crowd, to be honest.
I know, because Arizona, I think, has had like one of the lowest attendance in the AAF.
Which was sort of surprising because they started out really strong. They were probably picked to be the winners in all of it, but then the Orlando Apollos came out and they were the ones that really were ahead of the pack. But yeah, throughout the season, the crowds were not very good, so I'm not sure if that had much influence on Tom Dundon.
Tom Dundon, yeah.
His decision, but I know it seemed like he was just impatient. Like the fact that he wanted the NFLPA to help out and make it more of a developmental league, that's not something that can happen in a matter of weeks. That's something that takes years even. So I think he expected it to move fast, and when it didn't, he pulled out. And so I don't think it was very good business on his part. It's too bad that it is over now, and now they're not sure where these players are going to end up. I know that about 30 have already signed NFL contracts, which is great. That's the purpose of the league. But people are wondering if there's going to be another donor, if it'll come back for season 2. It's just so much is up in the air.
It's highly unlikely, but I think the AAF is done.
What do you think about the effect of it? Because there are some players who are going to get their shot. For example, Rashad Ross, the wide receiver for the Hot Shots, I would be shocked if he does not get another opportunity. Charles Johnson, I don't know why he was a productive player in the NFL, and everyone had him breaking out on the Vikings, and then when he went to the Panthers, and so I was surprised he even made it. But there will be some players who make the transition. Schultz from Salt Lake. So you know what? Let's say 7 players go back and get a chance in the NFL. I think that's a successful.
Yeah,
that's exactly what they were hoping for.
It wasn't. This wasn't just going to be successful for players. Like when the AAF first formed, it was also kind of for fans as well, because it's just more football during the spring league. So overall, what sucks is that what happens to all the other players that are not NFL ready yet?
Exactly.
What's going to be done for them? Like, do they try to go for the XFL next year that launches? Or what do you think?
It was just handled so poorly in the end there. I heard that there were players that were injured, and now they no longer have any team to pay for their bills in terms of rehabilitation and things like that. And players had to find their own way home if they didn't live.
What?
Yeah,
they
had to find their own way home, whether it was driving or getting their own airplane tickets.
Gosh, that sucks.
It was just it was a mess.
What about also for the fans who got like season tickets or purchase tickets ahead of time for games that were already canceled?
Mm-hmm.
I think they were actually offered refunds for the games.
I didn't see an announcement on any refunds. Yeah, I could be wrong. Like if they did announce it, but like this definitely sucks because. I mean, because I'm an arena football guy, so I wasn't really a big fan of the AAF, especially since they're trying to purposely tell players not to sign for AFL or indoor football league teams. But not only that, the one thing I really did like is the fact that they were keeping Sun Devil Stadium busy because Sun Devil Stadium, they just redid the whole stadium. It took like 4 years. I think it's meant for much more than just hosting 6 football games a year. So I mean,
yeah, of course, it's been big to have other things in there. I know that in the past week they painted the field for soccer, actually, for women's soccer.
Yeah, they replaced it with the ASU soccer game.
So they obviously it's great that they renovated the stadium. It was a big need for the stadium, and it's being used for so many more things now, and that'll generate more revenue and more people coming there at least, and it'll be a better symbol for the university, and it won't be a trash stadium at this point. So that's good.
For sure. So, and also in a rapid fire question, we'll bring this up on feature the Hot Shots if they'll return. We'll get to that later. Moving on though to more football. Believe it or not, there's also a football league that's existed for years before the AAF or XFL comes. The Arizona Rattlers blew out the San Diego Strike Force at home this past weekend, and the final score, if I can pull it up here, 91-58. That is just basically destroying the team. San Diego's a new expansion team to the IFL league, so I mean it's definitely a huge win for them. And then not only that, it's a win for them at home. So yeah, definitely. And then not only that, this Saturday. Or this weekend, basically. I don't know the exact day, but they're going to be first time ever. It's basically like going to be an arena football version of the Territorial Cup, as they're going to be playing the Tucson Sugar Skulls down at the Dirty T. What are your guys' thought about that? Like, if Tucson should even expanding professional sports in Tucson, or do you guys think it's a bad market?
I don't think Tucson should have anything. That's my final statement.
Oh, God.
I think there might be a little bit of bias there.
I don't know if you guys know this, but the head coach of the Arizona Rattlers, Kevin Guy, who's in that video right there, he owns the Tucson team while he's the head coach.
So there is zero conflict of interest, so I'm pretty happy.
I
mean, you could own something and be...
But coaching
and be impartial, right?
I wonder which would benefit him more, winning on the team that he's coaching for or losing to the team that he's owning.
I think making a good game would be the most profitable.
It's like a win-lose situation.
No, it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely glad we're seeing like more expanding, like having 2 teams. Tucson, no. I mean, the market. There's so many other like good towns that's like far enough away to be like its own independent area, like Flagstaff or Prescott. Like Prescott's got the Northern Arizona Suns. So yeah, but like I don't know, like because it used to be like with spring training, they tried to spread it across the state, like they tried to do it in Florida, and in Florida is successful. Arizona, it's not. Like the only best areas to be in Arizona is like the general Phoenix area, and then Scottsdale, Tempe are kind of like all in the same area. So I mean.
When I think of a professional sports town, I do not think Tucson, and there's a reason for that.
Wow, he's just like slamming Tucson nonstop.
I'm just saying, like, when you go to Tucson, there's nothing until you get to the University of Arizona, and that's not saying much.
I think, like, U of A, although, like, because I'm an ASU fan, U of A is, like, the only thing that's keeping Tucson going.
Oh,
like,
exactly.
Let's be honest.
It's a college town with retired people living there, pretty much.
Yeah, so, I mean, and not only that, like, a lot of people, U of A students who... after they graduate from U of A, they don't end up staying in Tucson.
Oh, no. Why would anyone want to?
God, it's
completely isolating half of the AZ Sports Box audience, considering that Tucson does take up a large portion of the population.
I agree to disagree with anyone that's a fan of Tucson.
I mean,
getting into some breaking news.
But one thing they are doing, the Tucson team and the Rattlers are doing, they lasted longer than the Hot Shots.
That's true.
I'll say that. So,
but that's not the Hot Shots' fault.
Oh yeah.
But
the Hot Shots were owned by the team, the league actually. With IFL, it's different. It's like in full franchise mode. Yeah. So I mean, I will say that, but. Yeah. I mean, it is fact, though, they lasted longer than the Hot Shots.
You can't argue it.
And that's going to be forever shown in the history books. Moving on to our next topic. And I think it's, a lot of people said, like, this definitely could be happening, even though it would probably be a stupid idea that this person would do this. I don't have really much time to, like, digest it to have an opinion on it. But, like, head coach Bobby Hurley is he leaving the ASU? Is he going to St. John's?
I do not think he is leaving. I don't think he will leave because he's built something here at ASU, and I know it's not really something to be super proud of yet at this point. But if you look at the team 4 or 5 years ago, there's been a big shift in not only the program, but the fans coming to games and just like the team overall. Like instead of just having 3-point shooters and small all across the board, we have big men now who can rebound. We have a different strategy to win games, and I just don't see any reason for him to leave and go to St. John's. He just beat them. 3 weeks ago in the play-in game for the tournament.
Oh yeah.
And I mean that doesn't mean that he wouldn't go there, but I'm just saying he has a good thing going here at ASU, and it's only going to keep getting better at this point. And
because they did get eliminated in the first round, although they did get a first 4 win, so technically it was the second round.
Yeah.
But if you look back at this incredible season, I mean, I'm like, we've had some bad losses, not gonna lie. I mean, Princeton, but not only that, like, what was it like? How about those wins against KU and U of A? U of A's not a good team, but when you beat U of A, it's like the best wins.
Yeah, and we swept U of A, like that was even better.
But you know what? Here's the thing. I have a reason why. There is a reason that I could see Bobby Hurley leaving ASU for St. John's.
Well, yeah, because it's near his hometown.
No, Bobby Hurley is right now still kind of on the hot seat. A lot of people were saying if he didn't make the tournament last year that he was going to get canned. If Bobby Hurley is offered, let's say, a 4-year, 5-year deal, if he goes for job security, if St. John's is all in on Bobby Hurley as a coach, Arizona, I still could see Arizona State firing Hurley if let's say they flop next season, because they do have the talent. So
don't forget, like, if Bobby goes to St. John's, he still has to pay off the contract.
But here's the thing, though. If he wants job security, if he wants to be there, he's got, 1 year left in his deal?
No, I think he's got, didn't he just renew? He's got a few years left.
Yeah, I don't know that.
I mean, we don't have the whole details, but I mean,
I think that the reason he would go to St. John's is for job security and for his family. So I can see why people were saying that.
I mean, if I was him, I'd totally understand that decision from a family standpoint. I mean, that totally makes sense.
He has more reach in terms of recruiting on the East Coast than the West Coast, but he's been doing a pretty good job here so far in terms of recruiting. We've got some big players coming in next year. I think 3 4-stars already are committed and signed here at ASU, and it's gonna be an interesting season given that they're almost 100% losing Lugens Dort. They're losing Zalon Sheatham.
Yeah, and speaking of that, Lugens Dort, do you guys think kind of 2 questions? Do you guys think Dort is going to the NBA, and if so, do you think he's jumping the gun?
I think he is going to the NBA, and yes, I do think he is jumping the gun, and I'm saying this outside of my ASU bias. I'd like him to be back, but not just because I'm an ASU fan, but he's just not ready to be in the NBA. Obviously, he has lots of physicality, he has lots of talent, but he needs to refine his game before he goes to the NBA. The thing is, with all this money in front of him, and he has this chance to be so high in the draft as a freshman, I mean, why not? So it'll be interesting to see where he gets drafted. I am almost certain he will be leaving for the draft. But I do think he should stay another year. He needs to clean up his passing, his turnovers. He needs to clean up lots of things. He does have really good defense, and he's really physical, but that won't get you super far in the NBA.
My opinion for Dort is I think right now he's kind of selling high. If he joins the NBA, I think as long as don't forget, he can always return. So I think, even if he declares for the draft, he can still return.
That's
so
a
what
new-
I think
that's
he's
a new rule, right? Yeah.
Yes. So what I think he's going to do is he's going to go. If he gets the first round, he's going to take the first round contract and he's going to go, because I think that he is a first round talent, and I think a team should be willing to take a flyer on him.
But like he's like,
But
you guys think
here's
he'll be
the
like a top 10?
But here's the thing.
First round?
No, he's not going to be top 10. But if he gets, let's say,
26,
20,
27,
26, 27 goes to, let's say, the Spurs, goes to the Warriors, goes to a team that has a team that he can develop under. That way he can learn and do what Tracy McGrady, what Kobe was able to do, and then become those young players, mature while still in the league, and then basically come and take over those positions, like take over and be the lead of Popovich's team, let's say. So I would do that if I were him, because your draft stock can plummet all the way, but how much more can his draft stock really rise from 20 to 10?
Yeah.
As far as a solely financial move, it is in his best interest to at least declare, and if worst case scenario, you come back, you do another year, and you hope that you can get right back there.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm kind of like not even sided on one side when it comes to this issue. Like, I definitely will be bummed out if we lose Dort. And in some ways, this would also be historic because Dort would be the first one-and-done player for ASU if this happens. I believe so, right? In the history books?
Yeah.
He'll be the first one and done if he leaves.
People would think James Harden was, but he was here for 2 years.
No, 2 years.
So, Dort would be the first in ASU's history.
Yeah, but, not only that, just, I also understand from, making a living standpoint, because there's, in the NCAA, the rules are, the only thing they can get, basically paid for is get in return for being a student athlete is a free education and then also free housing.
Except for it's not free. You're working for it.
Yeah, exactly. But not only that, there's so much time you have to sacrifice for when it comes to practices and traveling for games. We know that. But also, these athletes also have to be working jobs too, because they got to make money somehow. If they're paying for college tuition or food, all that kind of stuff to keep your college life going. So if he leaves to go to the NBA just because it's for money reasons, that's totally understandable, because I've seen a lot of student athletes struggle with this. And I sometimes don't agree with the rules, but I completely respect what the NCAA does, especially with U of A trying to pay some of their players. You just have to respect the rules, and it is what it is.
Yep.
So, but speaking of NCAA, and we move on to outside the AZ sports box, NCAA Final Four weekend, and we will start with the men's Final Four, Virginia and Texas Tech. And before we even get into the championship, and I guess we can hold that for the rapid fire. But looking at all these 4 teams that compete in the Final Four, Michigan State, Auburn, Texas Tech, Virginia. How do you guys think this year's Final Four went? Was it really boring to watch, or was it actually somewhat exciting?
I think it was pretty good, given that the first couple rounds were pretty boring. There weren't any big upsets, no Cinderella teams really to cheer on this year. But I would say even into the Elite Eight, the last 7 games, they were pretty good. Each game was pretty close, excluding the Texas Tech and Michigan State game. That was kind of boring. It was a 10-point game in the end.
Yeah.
But no, they were really good games this weekend, and it was really fun to watch. I wanted Michigan State to go all the way. I had them winning in my bracket.
But, really?
Yeah. They got pretty far. I had them beating Duke. I was happy about that. But yeah, they kind of disappointed against Texas Tech. Yeah.
Who got the farthest in the bracket challenge?
Farthest. Who?
So who did you guys pick to win it all?
Oh, I had Michigan State and Kentucky, and they both. Yeah.
Kentucky,
that was sad. Yeah.
Who'd you pick?
I had Duke, Michigan. I think it was North Carolina, UNC.
Oh wow.
And who was the other one? Virginia. I had Virginia.
Okay. Yeah. So, but now that going into the national championship game, obviously I thought it was going to come off a buzzer beater, especially not one that ended in regulation, but it ended up going to overtime, and wasn't the best ending, but I thought it was a good basketball game.
Yeah. As someone I'm a Michigan fan, as someone whose bracket was basically busted, I had like a few dollars on the game, but nothing real. It was a fun game, both that game and the Auburn game. I think the Auburn game was by far the most exciting. It was very controversial with the ending.
Oh,
God, Virginia's luck with free throws. Kyle Guy, the way his swagger, just the way he can shoot free throws,
and it wasn't even like close to missing.
It was not close.
Were straight
and you know what? Virginia making what I think was 11 straight free throws to end the game.
Yeah, and they had I think over 10 in overtime alone.
No, and straight.
Yeah,
like. It's the fundamentals, and you know what? To come back from losing, the storylines are amazing. To come back from losing to UMBC, the first 16 seed ever, to win it, it was honestly really, it was heartwarming. It was great, and no offense to Texas Tech, I actually really wanted to see the Virginia win, and
it's a good story.
It was a good story. It felt good. It was a feel-good story.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no doubt. So I mean, it was a good Final Four to watch. Moving on to some breaking news that we watched earlier. So the NHL Draft Lottery is now officially out, and the number 1 pick goes to the New Jersey Devils. This is a huge, obviously, move for New Jersey. When's the last time they actually been good? Like when it comes to hockey?
They made the Stanley Cup Finals. I think it was 2012 or 2013. So they made the playoffs. I think it was 2 years ago. Or actually, it might have been last year. So this really was a 1-year rebuild if they do get that player that they need. But yeah, it was a fairly quick turnaround. The Devils made the playoffs last year as an 8th seed. A lot of people had them that they could have possibly won. But yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Oh, for sure be interesting. Looking at the other picks, New York Rangers got the number 2 pick. Chicago Blackhawks, they got the 3rd pick. I think they originally weren't favored to get the 3rd picks.
They were originally for the 12th. All of the
That's a huge turnaround.
Every single team who won the pick. So I think the Blackhawks were originally supposed to get the 12th pick. The Rangers were only supposed to get the 9th pick, and the Devils were supposed to get the 3rd pick.
Wow.
So really, this is the second time that the Colorado Avalanche, who got the pick from Ottawa, have been jumped by the Devils.
And they had the best odds, too. They were favored to get the number 1 pick.
This was the second time that they have been jumped by the Devils. The Kings also did not get a... Kings were supposed to get the 2nd overall pick. They end up on the 5th pick. But the Colorado Avalanche getting that 4th pick when they have the pick of the worst record, that's got to hurt for the Avalanche fans.
Oh, for sure. And then what do you think? How the Coyotes got the 14th pick?
Well, that was expected.
Is this really gonna is this gonna help the Coyotes at all? I mean,
again,
because I've always been told if you don't get the top 2 picks in the NHL draft, you might as well pick last.
I think the top 5 players can be good, but Jack Hughes, the number 1 player, is definitely going to be a huge impact. Then there's the 2nd player. I think that the Finnish scorer, Capo Kakko.
The Finland player, yeah.
Yeah, Capo Kakko. So, or Capo. I think that that's definitely going to be the 2 players that are going to be key in this draft. So I think that a lot of New Jersey people are going to be very happy. The New Jersey, New York area, it's going to be very big. The Coyotes, again, you know what? As they're right now, they can take that step and make the playoffs. So who needs to win the lottery when you could win the Stanley Cup?
Oh, no doubt. So, I mean, it's going to be an exciting hockey season to look forward to, especially with the playoffs. This current season about to wrap up with the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs coming up. We'll talk about that later in our What to Watch For segment. But yeah, moving on. All right, now time for my favorite segment of the show, and that is rapid fire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you guys all these questions. You guys each have 45 seconds to respond, and then rebuttals are optional, but if you rebuttal, it is 15 seconds. So I will start the first question. Will the Hotshots return in 2020? Will it be with the AAF? Could the XFL buy out the Hotshots? What do you guys think?
I do not think that the Hotshots will return as a part of the AAF. I feel like if they do go to the XFL, it'll be a different name. But there might be another Arizona football team.
Okay. Then Parker?
Well, I don't really have much to say about that because I agree completely. I think their best shot at coming back at this point is maybe the XFL. I don't see the AAF having another comeback. It's just with the way it ended so sloppily, I don't think that players will be interested in joining if this is another possibility for it to end this way. So I think their best bet is maybe the XFL.
Okay, now moving on to the next question. And will the D-backs go to the postseason this year after that huge start against Boston in the opening home series?
I do not think the D-backs will go. I think this is an overreaction. Even though right now I think they're slated for the wild card spot, I think this is a rebuilding year. They'll fall back to earth, and hopefully they get a high enough pick. So the next question is, which team do you think will get the number 1 pick in the NBA draft? Caleb, we're going to you first.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, it's it could be a toss-up, really. Like, I mean, who's favored to win? Because I don't know the odds right now. Like
that I don't know. I know the Suns are there. The Cavs, I think, have the best.
I don't think the Suns are going to get the pick for the second year in a row.
I think that even though I think they have the second best chance, I think the New York Knicks are going to get it. I think the storylines are just too good. Zion is
putting my money
to
on
New
the
York.
Knicks. Zion Williamson is going to New York. Although I feel like the Knicks are probably still going to suck. I mean, who knows? They've sucked for a while, but who knows? This may be finally the turnaround that they get. So I mean,
hey, you have 5 players on the court. If one of them is an absolute beast,
I mean, yeah, for sure.
You know what?
So.
I do hope that the Suns get the number 2 pick. I think that the player from Murray State, Ja Morant. Morant's an absolute beast. So I think that pairing Ja Morant with DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker, if they do get the 2nd overall pick, could be an absolute monster. So I feel like
absolutely.
the Suns, even if they get 2nd, I would still be happy as a Suns fan.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be exciting to watch. I'm glad to at least see that they have a chance at the top 2 picks after getting the first pick last year with DeAndre Ayton. So this could really help the Suns.
Absolutely worst, I think they get 5th. So.
5th? I mean, that's still not bad. I mean,
yeah, you get like a Cam Reddish or an RJ Barrett if they decide to declare.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. All right, next we look forward to all the sports action going on in the upcoming week and our what to watch for. And we start off with the Diamondbacks starting off their next series against the Texas Rangers. Obviously coming off that hot start like we talked about earlier with their wins against Boston, that 2-1 series victory. How do you think things will shape up for the D-backs going up against the Texas Rangers?
The Rangers are another weak team, and it is a home game stand. So, you know what? I think that they can win another series. I think they get 2-1, or I don't remember how many games the series is, but I do think they will win it. And yeah, their schedule is getting pretty rough. They play the Yankees at home. I think that's the next series after the Rangers, so this is could be a possible trap series in between the Red Sox and the Yankees, but I think that they will win. And yeah, I think it won't affect much playoff-wise, but get a few wins, get some in the bag, get the morale high.
Also, what to watch for coming up this weekend, like we said, the Arizona Rattlers will travel down to Tucson to play the Sugar Skulls this weekend. This is the second meeting between these two teams this whole season. The Rattlers played Tucson just a couple of weeks ago here in downtown Phoenix. They beat them. Just flat out easy question. Do you think the Rattlers will go 2-0 against Tucson and sweep them this season?
I do.
Do you think the Sugar Skulls will win?
I do think they will sweep them. I think that the Rattlers are, I think, right now undefeated in against IAF teams. So
IFL, yeah.
Yeah, IFL teams. So I think that the Rattlers just too good of a talent level. They've been there. This is a Tucson. They're more or less an expansion team. So I do think that the Rattlers will overpower the Tucson Sugar Skulls.
Oh, going to be huge to watch. And then, of course, the biggest thing on what to watch for this week, the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Playoffs start this Wednesday, and of course, I mean, looking at the bracket, we got a lot of huge teams to watch. Some of these teams haven't been to the playoffs in a long time, but of course, big teams returning like usual. Vegas Golden Knights will play San Jose. Avs, who took the Coyote spot in the playoffs, will play Calgary.
Just looking at very interesting.
Looking at all these matchups, I mean, it's gonna be hard to pick which one's not gonna be to watch. Which first round matchup looks huge to you?
The 2 first-round matchups that I'm most excited for would have to be the Avalanche against the Flames, because the Flames are really, no one expects them to win, but they did have the second-best record in the regular season, and the Avalanche snuck in, but they were on a hot streak, and they did lose out on the lottery, so who knows, maybe they have a little extra flame on them.
Oh, yeah.
Flame, because Calgary Flames,
I got the plan.
The next one would be the Islanders against the Penguins, because that's going to be Penguins kind of snuck into the playoffs there. The Islanders have been pretty much wrecking house. And so there's a lot of social media beef against the Islanders and the Penguins. So that's going to be a very fun matchup. I think that'll be very interesting. The third best, I would have to say, as far as hockey-wise, would be the Golden State the Golden Vegas Knights against the Las Vegas Golden Knights against the San Jose Sharks, because both are very high-powered offenses.
And this is because these two teams played each other in the Stanley Cup
finals.
playoffs.
In the conference finals.
The semifinals, yes. They played each other.
I think that could be a very, very fun thing.
Oh, yeah, this could be huge to watch. And I'll kind of go ask two questions here, and they're basically, just like I said, plain and simple. Who do you think is going to win? And then who's going to be your upset pick for the playoffs this year? And I'll start with you, basically.
So my upset pick would have to be the St. Louis Blues. They could be a dark horse, or the Colorado Avalanche. They can come out of nowhere and win. I would really like to see the Tampa Bay Lightning. Lightning, they've been wrecking all year. Everyone expects them to run out of steam, but you know what? I have them making the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then another team that could make a lot of noise would be the Nashville Predators. Nashville's been in the running for a while now. They still have elite players, so I'd say teams to look out for would be them.
So are you picking Tampa? You think Tampa's going to get the third Stanley Cup title in their franchise, or is it?
Right now I'm gonna say
have
Tampa.
to pick one.
I'm gonna go with Tampa.
You're gonna go with Tampa. All right. So for my upset pick, like I said, I'm gonna, like you said, I'm gonna go with the Avs. I think, although they are in eighth spot, we've seen that when it comes to playoff season, it's nothing compared to regular season. You sometimes will see some huge upsets. I mean, just tell that to the LA Kings in the 2012 season. They not only took down the top three teams in the West, which unfortunately was the Coyotes in the conference finals, but they swept them hard. So I think the Avs could maybe repeat the same thing as LA did in 2012. Getting all the way to the Stanley Cup final and winning it, though, it seems a little hard to believe. But, I mean, you never know. I mean, playoff hockey can be so unpredictable, so we'll see. As far as my pick for who will win it all, I'm going to go with the team that is trying to get redemption from last year's Stanley Cup final. I'm going with Vegas because they got a huge team. I think they're going to be able to win it all this year and, of course, do it at home. So, I mean, it'll be huge. And no team, I don't think, has ever believed have been able to redeem themselves in the Stanley Cup final when it comes to losing the Stanley Cup final one year and then winning it the following year. I mean, I don't think it's ever been done.
I can look that up.
You'll have to look that up. But while you're looking that up, do you think Vegas could win it all?
I do actually really like Vegas. I do like Vegas. I think they're a good team. They retained all their core players. They've actually gotten a little bit better. But the thing is, they don't have the shock value. Last year, no one really expected them to do anything, and did they make noise? So this year, everyone has their eyes out. They know what to watch. They have film on the team. So now it's not. They don't have the shock factor, and they do have a very rough road to the Stanley Cup playoffs, facing either the Flames or the Avs in the second round, the Sharks in the first round. So it could be a very tough road for the Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh, no doubt. It'll be really huge to watch for. All right, that's going to do it for our podcast here from the ASU Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communications here in downtown Phoenix. For Henry Steiner and Parker Gray, I'm Caleb Bouchy saying goodbye for now. We'll see you back here, same time, same place next week.
Adios.